I glared at my sister, her calculating smile slicing through the charged air as we divided our family's assets. Every word a reminder of betrayals that have seared my soul. In that electrifying moment, when her touch hinted at a forbidden allure and a scandal poised to shatter our legacy, I knew our lives were about to unravel. Chapter 1. Family Reunion, a Delicate Balance. The arrival at the sprawling estate was not marked by fanfare, but by a silenced, heavy expectancy hanging in the air, as thick as the summer humidity. Marisol stepped through the wrought-iron gates with cautious optimism in her heart, a blend of hope, trepidation, and a silently ruminating question. How much of her family's past would she have to reconcile with today? The white-painted veranda and the scent of damp earth stirred memories of childhood laughter and whispered secrets. Yet beneath that nostalgic surface lay a network of tensions that had been building over time. Marisol's eyes scanned the gathering, taking in every detail with an analytical reserve that masked her inner turmoil. The reunion of her extensive family was as much a battleground as it was a heartwarming homecoming. Even now, as relatives greeted one another with cordial smiles and tentative touches, an undercurrent of unspoken conflicts pulsed through the hidden corners of every conversation. It was a delicate balance, a tenuous interplay of shared history, inherited grudges, and unyielding ambition. At the center of this intricate dance was the matter of the family assets, a fortune that had quietly dictated alliances and rivalries for decades. In the spacious drawing room, looming sketches of the estate and old, hand-drawn blueprints hinted at legacies and debts. Family members had gathered around a long oak table, already partitioned into distinct clusters as discussions, both overt and covert, about inheritances began. Marisol circled around the perimeter, her heart heavy with a mix of duty, anger, and a reluctant fascination with every word exchanged. Every nuanced comment about the division of heirlooms and properties was laced with hints of betrayal, an inheritance not so much of wealth but of long-standing resentments. The murmurs and half-spoken assertions were interrupted by a soft voice, a voice that had both comforted and confounded Marisol for years. Livia, her older sister, was the personification of charm wrapped in cunning intelligence, a presence that could both soothe and provoke in equal measure. Livia's eyes, dark with secrets and glints of mischief, seemed to read every thought and emotion swirling within Marisol. As the conversation turned to the specifics of the asset division, Livia's warm yet calculating smile carried an ambiguous allure that both attracted and repelled. There was an undeniable magnetism in the way she moved, a carefully honed art of diplomacy, one that intertwined familial care with a sharper vision for personal gain. The tension around the table was palpable, and as Marisol sank into an armchair near the scene, her mind began to replay the events of the past many times over. The family reunion was not merely about reconnecting with kin, but about bracing for another round of subtle confrontations that had always led to emotional casualties. Every polite smile concealed an intricate web of rivalries, every courteous remark masked silent claims, and every moment of shared reminiscence hinted at the potential for betrayal. Amid the quiet negotiations about who would inherit which asset, the lines between financial pragmatism and personal vendettas became increasingly blurred. Marisol's pulse quickened as she observed Livia. There was something silently provocative in her sister's gestures, an artful tilt of the head, a fleeting yet intentional contact of fingers as they brushed over a delicate porcelain teacup. In that moment all the previous memories, longing and clandestine misgivings that had simmered between them seemed to converge into a single potent charge. The attraction was dangerous, an energy both forbidden and irresistible. It blurred the boundaries between sisterly duty and an enigmatic romantic longing. And as the discussion about the assets shifted to the elderly patriarch's final wishes, this subtle but potent chemistry began to bloom amid the strain. Every word Livia spoke was a careful thread woven into a tapestry of negotiation and seduction. Her voice, mild and persuasive, constantly straddled the line between empathy and calculation. For Marisol, the sister she had often admired yet distrusted, every nuance was an invitation to a game in which she was both participant and victim. In her mind, Marisol recalled childhood days, when laughter was a currency and secrets were shared without fear. Yet now, those same moments were clouded with the dubious awareness that every sentiment could harbor an ulterior motive. That internal conflict only deepened as she listened. it was as though a part of her yearned to cross the invisible boundary that had been drawn by years of rivalry and resentment, while another part remained steadfastly aware of the risks. The meeting was intermittently punctuated by short breaks, moments that allowed every member of the family to retreat into their private world of financial anxieties and personal agendas. During one such pause, Marisol found herself alone in a quiet corridor, leaning against a surface that had seen centuries of family triumphs and tragedies. The soft echo of distant voices reminded her that every reconciliation was temporary, and every embrace potentially laced with the venom of old grievances. In the dim light, her thoughts wandered to the dual nature of Livia's charm, how presentation and duplicity sometimes walked hand in hand, leaving one to wonder if an affectionate smile could cloak a calculated betrayal. Before Marisol could disentangle herself from these swirling emotions, a gentle presence interrupted her solitude. Livia emerged, her silhouette outlined by the ambient glow of the hallway light, a soft smile breaking the tension of the moment. In an exchange as brief as it was loaded, Livia's eyes communicated a silent acknowledgement of both mutual understanding and looming conflict. In that suspended fraction of time, every glance became a dialogue of its own, unspoken confessions of longing intermingled with the awareness of a duty that stretched beyond the realms of mere familial love. Back in the drawing room, as the family began to reconvene around the table, the air was rife with an uneasy equilibrium. The discussion resumed with the division of prized artworks and ancestral jewels, underpinned by a barely perceptible current of seduction and rivalry swirling between the sisters. Marisol's heart pounded not simply in protest or fear, but in a confused admiration for Livia's ability to turn every emotional cue into a strategic maneuver. It was a delicate balance of power and passion, the kind that promised passion laced with betrayal, leaving behind a trail of shattered loyalties even as it flirted with redemption. As the hours passed in an intricate interplay of negotiation, laughter that didn't reach the eyes, and moments heavy with meaning, both sisters found themselves caught in a complex dance. Every shared remark, every touch, every fold of the conversation deepened the bond they both dreaded yet secretly craved. In a space that reeked of old money and older grudges, their conflicting emotions mingled, hope mingled with regret, attraction mingled with a deep-seated distrust. For Marisol, the family reunion had become a reflection of the life she had led. Every step forward was shadowed by the potential for backtracking into old wounds, every act of tenderness tainted by the lurking presence of selfish ambition. In the quiet moments that punctuated the day, when the clamor of debate momentarily subsided, Marisol allowed herself to consider the impossibility of the situation, how the lines between sisterhood and something more had been freshly drawn by a single, subtle glance, how in the midst of inherited hostilities and bitter financial disputes, the heart could find itself drawn into dangerous, forbidden territory. She remembered the promises of youthful camaraderie that had dissolved under the weight of adult complexities. As the meeting progressed, that forbidden spark continued to kindle a fire that was both exhilarating and perilous. By the time dusk crept across the estate and the final negotiations wound down, the atmosphere was saturated with uncertainty and unsaid words. Family members departed in subdued clusters, each carrying the burden of unresolved issues and silent accusations. Marisol lingered at the threshold of the grand foyer, her mind racing with the dualities of the day, the bitter taste of betrayal intermingled with a strangely sweet prospect of possibility. The delicate attraction she had felt for Livia was a promise of more than just a family feud. It was a call to confront the very nature of love and loyalty in the face of legacy and loss. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the echoes of the day's debates and glances mingled with the shadows of the estate. Marisol took a deep breath, ready to face the truth that might lie ahead, that sometimes the most exquisite dangers were those that came clothed in the guise of the familiar. In that final quiet moment, standing at the crossroads of her past and an uncertain future, she recognized that the reunion was not so much an end as it was a precursor, a delicate prelude to a chapter of conflict, desire, and the perilous allure of what it meant to be family. Chapter 2. Fault Lines in the Fortune. The ornate meeting room buzzed with tension as the family asset settlement loomed. What began as a routine distribution had morphed into a battlefield, revealing deep-seated grievances behind every forced smile. The protagonist watched her sister, whose charm masked a steely resolve, maneuver through the room with disarming ease. The confrontation peaked when Mr. Clayton, the family patriarch, attempted to enforce a fair division of the estate. His words, meant to emphasize fairness, instead unleashed a torrent of accusations and reopened old wounds. The protagonist felt each accusation as a reflection of her own choices and compromised loyalties, while her sister's strategic remarks seemed to simultaneously soothe and inflame the gathering. Amidst the chaos, the sisters skillfully redirected the conversation, blending softness with incisive logic. Her eyes met the protagonist's, a silent exchange of unsaid words and mutual understanding. The debate over assets escalated, alliances shifting rapidly, until the room briefly emptied, leaving the sisters alone in a charged silence. Here, away from prying eyes, the sister's earlier charm turned intimate. "I know you're hurting," she whispered, her vulnerability contrasting sharply with her manipulative persona. The protagonist felt torn between family loyalty and an inexplicable connection to her sister. Their conversation shifted to deeper desires, culminating in a tender yet rebellious kiss that defied family traditions and hinted at forgiveness. Back in the meeting room, the chaos continued, but with an undercurrent of uncertainty. The protagonist, burdened by the secret encounter, questioned her sister's true motives. Was she fighting for the family legacy or something more personal? In the days following, whispered alliances replaced overt hostility. The clandestine kiss haunted the protagonist, a mix of warmth and unease lingering. She wrestled with the irony that her sister's manipulation had unlocked something unpredictable. Was this connection a foundation for a new beginning or a path to regret? As night fell, the protagonist sat alone, replaying the day's events. The lines between loyalty and desire blurred, transforming the asset dispute into a deeper exploration of identity. Caught between passion and betrayal, she vowed to reconcile these shifts in her heart. Even if the family was fractured, perhaps the chaos held the promise of unexpected unity. Chapter 3: Scandal and Shattered Trust. Under the harsh glare of the midday sun, the marble steps of the family estate became a stage for public disgrace. A throng of reporters, social influencers, and longtime adversaries had gathered, all intent on witnessing the fragility of a once revered legacy. The tension radiated through every whispered comment and accusing glance, while a new enemy, a rival faction seeking to tarnish the family's name, unleashed a barrage of damning allegations that no member could ignore. In the heart of this maelstrom stood Veronica and Isabel, two sisters bound by blood, and a history too complex for simple explanation. Their family had long maintained a facade of perfection and unity, but beneath that surface, deep-seated resentments and secrets festered. As the rival faction unveiled explosive claims and manipulated evidence of past betrayals, the family was forced to confront not only the external onslaught, but also the internal fissures that threatened to tear it apart. Veronica, the elder with a reputation both admired and feared, watched the crowd with eyes that betrayed hurt masked as defiance. The accusations pointed to indiscretions and double crosses that she had once thought buried in the annals of the past. Beside her, Isabel's eyes shimmered with a mix of anger and sorrow, the quiet despair of someone who had long carried guilt and the weight of family secrets. The public outcry was more than a simple media stunt. It was a reckoning that had made painfully clear that the roots of their betrayal had grown too deep to ignore. The scandal reached its crescendo during an impromptu press conference engineered by their rival. With calculated precision, the opposition unfurled details of a series of covert alliances and leaky confidences, implicating not only dishonest business practices, but also heart-wrenching interpersonal betrayals. Veronica was accused of colluding in a stealthy financial maneuver that had jeopardized family fortunes, while Isabel's seemingly innocuous role in safeguarding a particular asset was twisted into evidence of her complicity in undermining trust. Every word that escaped the microphones acted like acid on the fragile ties between the sisters, exposing wounds that had never had the chance to heal. Within the walls of the ancestral manor later that evening, the sisters retreated to the solitude of a dimly lit drawing room. The atmosphere was heavy with stunned silence, punctuated only by the intermittent creaks of ancient wood and the distant hum of agitated voices echoing off stone corridors. Veronica paced slowly across the room, each measured step resonating with the certainty of a woman who knew that the time for evasion had passed. Isabel lingered near a window, gazing at the swirling storm outside, as if the turbulent weather could mirror the chaos within. Without preamble, the first words shattered the silence. "We have been betrayed not just by them, but by each other," Veronica said, her voice trembling slightly with a mixture of righteous fury and concealed pain. The admission was both an accusation and an invitation to honesty. Isabel turned, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. There was a moment of charged stillness when the weight of their shared history pressed down upon them like a tangible force. "I never wanted it to be this way," Isabel whispered, her tone fragile, yet imbued with a desperate sincerity that struck at the heart of their past. "Every secret, every lie it's between us, I thought I could protect you, protect us from our own mistakes, but it seems we have only hurt ourselves further." The confession hung between them, heavy and undeniable. In that moment there was an electrifying clarity. The scandal was no longer just a public spectacle, but a mirror reflecting the internal ruin caused by years of harboring grievances and unspoken truths. Veronica halted her pacing and approached Isabel slowly, the furrows of old wounds and betrayal etched into her face. "I remember the night vividly," she murmured. "The night you chose your own path over ours. The night I felt abandoned by a person I trusted more than anyone." Isabel's eyes flashed with a mixture of anger and regret. "And I remember the look in your eyes when you sided with decisions that left me behind, decisions you made without me. I was alone in a storm of secrecy, forced to bear the consequences of secrets I never wished to share." The conversation escalated, voices rising with raw emotion and each word tapping into the reservoir of old scars. The room seemed to contract, enclosing the sisters in a space where only their voices existed, reverberating off walls that had borne witness to generations of struggle and ambition. Despite the venom in their words, an undeniable undercurrent of vulnerability and longing wound its way through every sentence. At times, anger contorted their expressions into masks of defiance, but the underlying truth was clear. Both had missed the closeness that once bound them, and the shame over their transgressions was shared equally. Just as it seemed that the torrent of bitterness might never subside, a pause ensued, a collective intake of breath that allowed the past and present to collide. The conversation, laden with confessions of abandonment, deceit, and mutual hurt, found its climax in the raw exposure of their own failings. In the flickering candlelight, with every hidden truth finally brought to light, the sisters found themselves standing on the cusp of a chasm, with the potential to either plunge into deeper despair or attempt to bridge the gap with a desperate act of courage. In an impulsive moment fueled by a cocktail of anger, yearning, and the need for redemption, Veronica stepped forward. The barriers erected by years of pain melted into the immediacy of their embrace. Their lips met in a kiss that was both risky and redemptive, fierce and desperate, a collision of memories and futures, a plea for absolution from sins past. The kiss, unplanned yet inevitable, became a powerful symbol of the cusp between rupture and reconciliation. It was as if, in that humid, breathless moment, every betrayal, every tear, every withheld truth, was momentarily suspended. But even as the kiss deepened, so did the realization of the fragility of their bond. The juxtaposition of broken trust and yearning for connection was overwhelming. The act was paradoxical. While it hinted at the possibility of healing, it also served as a painful reminder that their trust had been shattered. Veronica's hands clutched at Isabel's back, searching for reassurance as if by holding tightly onto her sister, she could somehow mend the fractures. Isabel, for her part, returned the fervor of the kiss, a silent prayer that the touch might unlock the door to forgiveness. When the kiss eventually broke apart, both women looked at each other with haunted eyes. They were aware that the public scandal had been only a catalyst, a mirror reflecting the truths they had long avoided. The passionate moment left them breathless, caught in a suspended reality where love, regret, and pain intertwined. Beyond the passionate release lay the daunting truth that reconciliation would require more than an impulsive act. It would take honest communication, introspection, and a willingness to accept both culpability and the scars born of past betrayals. In the ensuing silence, the sisters stood as if suspended in time, acutely aware that a new chapter had just begun. The scandal had not only exposed them to the judgment of the world, but had also forced them to confront the betrayal within their own hearts. In that charged atmosphere, the kiss symbolized both a tentative step towards reconciliation and the stark knowledge that the road ahead would be treacherous. The shattered trust between them lay like fragments of broken glass, dangerous yet, if gathered with care, capable of being smoothed over by time and truth. As the night deepened and the first light of dawn began its slow invasion of the horizon, Veronica and Isabel knew that the public battle had ended, and now the true struggle lay ahead, mending a bond that had been weathered by secrets, lies, and a relentless assault of external forces. The revelations of betrayal might never disappear, but within the bittersweet embrace of that dangerous kiss lay a fragile hope that even amid scandal and shattered trust, the desire for redemption could forge a path toward healing. In the quiet aftermath, while the estate prepared to face another day in a world that now saw them through a lens tainted by scandal, the sisters silently vowed to face their inner demons together. Their embrace, marked by fervor and sorrow, was a declaration that despite the pain and the public shaming, there was still a place for love, complicated, necessary, and undeniably human. The night served as a stern harbinger. Scars may never vanish completely, but the process of rebuilding starts with the acknowledgement of pain, the utterance of truth, and a willingness to risk everything for a chance at genuine reconciliation. Chapter 4. Restoration Through Reckoning. The morning light crept over the old estate as Clara and Elena sat on the timeworn steps, silence heavy between them. After the public scandal and bitter dispute over family assets, regret lingered. Here, they decided to confront the betrayals and disappointments. Clara's hands trembled as she unfolded a faded letter from their father, a reminder of promises once uniting them, now a testament to fractured trust. Elena's eyes, filled with defiance and sorrow, met Clara's. "We can't go on like this," Elena whispered. "If we work together, if we talk about what hurt us, we can mend not only the estate, but our connection." The asset division had become a battleground of old resentments. Arguments escalated, rumors fueled public disgrace. Now, both sisters dared to admit their faults. Clara confessed, "I was too quick to decide what was fair. My actions hurt you." Elena's expression softened. "I played a part," she acknowledged. "My defensiveness caused more pain. This isn't the family image we should preserve." Their stark, raw conversation led to earnest admissions. The dispute wasn't just about numbers. It was about lost chances to support each other. Hand in hand, they revisited memories of shared moments, realizing these served as reminders of better times. With each truth spoken, wounds healed slightly. They shifted focus from public perceptions to rebuilding their internal bond. They scrutinized the disputed documents, seeking a solution honoring both their father's legacy and their contributions. By dawn, they reached an understanding. The assets would be divided fairly, reflecting both original intentions and their sacrifices. They set in motion efforts to reach out to estranged relatives and dismantle rumors, joining forces in community projects to restore the family's reputation. Walking the grounds, Clara and Elena saw the estate, not as a monument to past failures, but as fertile ground for renewal. Tending the garden became a metaphor for reclaiming what was lost. Community gatherings witnessed their transformation, both of the space and their reconciliation. As days turned into weeks, the emotional distance waned. Long conversations allowed hurt and misunderstanding to dissipate. Moments of laughter, a forgotten family game, a shared memory, reminded them of resilience. It was a steady, patient rebuilding of trust. One quiet evening, after a community event, Clara led Elena to their mother's room. Clara shared her deepest regrets. "I was afraid," she said. "My actions pushed you away." Elena listened, her eyes glistening. "I held on to a grudge because I felt betrayed," she confessed. "We lost our way, but we can find it again together." Their candid confessions shifted the dynamic irreversibly. In that poignant moment, Elena pulled Clara into an embrace. Their eyes met, understanding that forgiveness needed nurturing every day. Clara, with tender resolve, pressed her lips to Elena's in a kiss that sealed their commitment, a promise to face future storms together, united by a love proven strong. That embrace signified the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. The estate and community witnessed a transformation transcending asset division. They reclaimed their identity as sisters, guardians of a legacy defined by compassion and commitment. In the weeks that followed, as they shared their vision with the community, past wounds slowly healed. Neighbors joined efforts to revitalize the estate, and old family friends offered support. The sisters' reconciliation became a quiet revolution of trust and vulnerability. Walking through the revived garden, they acknowledged the uncertain future. Their journey of healing gave them the strength to embrace it with open hearts. The estate was a living legacy of resilience, a message that even deep wounds could be mended with understanding and love. In the quiet aftermath of their reckonings, the family legacy was restored not by declarations, but by sustained acts of confidence in the undeniable bond forged in mutual acceptance. Clara and Elena confronted their failings, finding a way to forgive the past and step